We're going to start with another of Alberto's questions, as he's just here for a couple of days. So please go ahead, Alberto.
It seems like there is more than seeing an invisible object, because it seems there is COVID as well, and we take it for real. We take it for something which is so real, and we do all sorts of things because of in this case, because of COVID, and we try to avoid it. We try to prevent it. We try to we do all sorts of things not to have it arise. So it seems like it's just another moment of forgetting about seeing an invisible object. Is it like one of the reasons we still don't understand the realities, the situation, the thinking about the situation, the thinking about the possible results, the possible causes, the possible consequences of seeing an invisible object, which was in reality is just still seeing an invisible object. Can you can you explain more about the reality of the? I think you already done it. Again, can you explain more about the reality of the situation we call COVID and we call and the reality of the moment, which we mistake for something which is not like the situation, any situation really.
Is it necessary that there be less attention or less remembering about seeing an invisible object when there's COVID than when there's not? Because that's how what you mentioned at the beginning. And of course, there cannot be remembering all the time about what is appearing at the present moment. But the situation in which one finds oneself is not necessarily a hindrance to remembering about seeing an invisible object, if that awareness has been developed in the past. And the question that comes to my mind on what you've asked is, how is the COVID situation different from, say, the non-COVID situation? Or if someone has another kind of illness, or if circumstances arise so someone has to leave the group early and go home, and all this sort of thing can be with or without COVID.
Yeah, that's good point. Yeah, when that's the situation we are like we we forget about the reality. No matter the situation,
Mhm.
the reality is forgotten. And COVID is just one example of which is more apparent than, let's say, maybe having breakfast or any other situation, conventional situation.
Of course, if the situation is very unusual, then one's reaction can be one that is not normally experienced. For example, yesterday when I heard that Vincent had tested positive, I immediately thought, oh my goodness. And I almost felt I had COVID that moment. It was such a shock to me. But the seeing invisible object is there regardless. And even what we call our reaction is just a slight variation on what is happening normally. Pleasant and unpleasant feeling, attachment, dosa to this or that, surprise and shock. And this is what we come to learn, having heard about it many times, that the characteristic of what is appearing remains the same.
In a way, it seems like COVID is another excuse, not to, is just another excuse to forget about reality, like any other situation. Yeah.
It shows how much we live in the fantasy world, because actually, no matter this situation here or there at home or in this room with COVID, without COVID, they're still just seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking just the same. So the answer to any question about any situation always just comes back to seeing now, hearing now, thinking about what's seen, what is heard, just the experience of different realities. But there's the thinking about the drama and the long story, and everyone enjoys the stories so much, but actually it's just seeing now, thinking now, hearing now. Life goes on as usual. If it's not this drama, to be another drama, one after the other.
Can the moment of thinking about COVID be known, be realized? And while thinking with many situations about this and that, how can there be the moment of understanding that very moment as a reality? Keep on thinking about COVID. So the point of studying is to understand the truth of no matter what COVID situation or no COVID situation, other situation anytime. Because in truth, even right now, what appears cannot be taken for anyone at all. At moment of thinking, talking about COVID, with our realities, can there be such moment? Impossible. That's why to begin to understand the truth at level of intellectual understanding has to be so firm. Otherwise, at that moment, there's no condition to understand reality as not self. And realities appear in a day only through 6 daways. So any daway can be the understanding of what is there right now, seeing one daway and hearing another daway. Otherwise, there cannot be the moment of understanding the truth of reality, as it cannot be taken for self or anything at all. That's why the purpose in samsara, not only in this life, has to be understanding the truth of what is there as it is. Without the words about the truth of it, there's no condition to begin to understand the truth right now. So from hearing and considering carefully, there shouldn't be any hindrance to hinder the realization of this moment. But what is there? Hinder, ignorance, and attachment. If they are not known as they are different realities, there must be the idea of self. I don't know. I don't understand. or I would like to understand this. They are there all the time. That's why listen to Dhamma only can condition the understanding of no matter what appears in the world, anywhere, has to be only now, one of the 6 doorways, one doorway at a time. What is more true than this? That's why it's not just listening to the word, but to whatever is said about right now as seeing right now. When will it be a moment of understanding the truth? It sees, see, it sees. It's only seeing. It's conditioned to see. That's all. Moment to moment in life in samsara, without the understanding of the truth of it, there's no condition to directly understanding the nature of seeing right now as it is. What is the truth? It experiences what appears now at moment of seeing. So no one think about that which experiences, because it's always I, someone, and something all the time. So if there is no moment of understanding the nature of that which is now appearing, it's impossible to get closer to the truth. Just the word to think about cannot lead to understanding this moment as it is until it's so firm. What is there in samsara is the most precious moment. It is the moment of understanding how much ignorance is there about whatever appears from day to day, from moment to moment in life. That's why it needs very great patience to understand that the truth now can be known only when there is enough confidence of the truth of it. Because when we think of other things, it means that no confidence enough to understand that which is now appearing, even it's talked about many days and months and years, it's still there, seeing as I see, or someone see, and what is seen as something. That's why when we talk about COVID, can there be the understanding of the nature of reality right then? As that it's seeing, there is thinking, there is hearing, and so on, not understanding the reality as it is. Just in split seconds, what is now appearing? Gone all the time. And this is the absolute truth. But it does not appear as it is, just see and then gone. But the truth is that whenever it arises to see and then it gone, instantly. That's why hearing again and again and again about the reality which arises to experience object all day in order to get rid of the idea of self, little by little, not yet experiencing the truth of the nature of it. So no matter we talk about COVID or the war and whatever, what is the reality right then? Otherwise, forgetful all the time of all which is now appearing. And when there is the awareness with understanding of that which is now appearing, how come? Because there has to be the understanding of that from hearing, considering, until it conditions such moment unexpectedly, anatta all the time. Otherwise, it is atta. Think about COVID, try to get rid of it, and so on. All day, all month, or all year. No understanding of the truth. But when it's firm understanding, not just to understand the word, like Patalampana or Sampatichana, it just explains how it is the reality which is conditioned to see and to be sampatichana and to be sandrina and vodhapana and so on. Only that, but they cannot appear as sampatichana, sandrina, vodhapana, tathanapana, and so on. So whatever appears, no selection, it's there by conditions. It can be object of understanding, not at will or trying so hard, but a little bit of understanding of the path, not attend to the stories too much or depending on conditions, depending on accumulation, how much it conditioned thinking about such and such, all by conditions. That's why it takes quite a long time, or years and years, to now understand as naturally that which you see, only that, one, only that, just one reality at a time. It's the beginning to understand the truth of seeing. And while there is the attention or aware of seeing, it conditions no attachment a little bit to the reality which is not seen. Even they are there, but the attention and awareness begin to study or to understand that which sees. And it has to be now. Otherwise, it cannot lead to the understanding of seeing as just seeing. Because now seeing, hearing, thinking, liking, many realities cannot be known. Which one is it now? So it has to be just one reality, the object of understanding. And Panya is so true, so real, because it only it which can understand how much understanding of what is there now is. How much? Seeing sees, but how much understanding of it?
Ajahn mentioned about the confident enough for something appear as it is. So I would like to ask more about the confidence. Is it the realities and what the characteristic of it? Confident.
Is there anything right now? Confidence. Is there any reality right now?
Yes.
Confidence. No confidence at all.
Okay. Yeah.
Even from just one question about the truth.
Right.
It's not just I know,
Yeah.
but what about the truth right now, whether it understands at what level, hearing, thinking, considering, firm confidence that it's not I.
It is confident about the truth, or confident about something else as well as the characteristic of it?
Is there anything now?
Yes.
Confidence. Just at that level, there is something or thing or whatever is there. And more to understand it as it is.
Can we say, just briefly, can we
I
say,
think the point,
can we say it's the opposite of doubt? It's the lack of doubt. Hearing something, as the Ajahn says, we hear an explanation of something and there is the acknowledgement or there is no doubt that what is being heard is correct because of our experience in life and whatever little understanding may have been developed so far, it confirms that.
I was just going to add that we can give it various names, or we can talk about functions and characteristics. But what about now, when you, like the question about COVID, but actually now seeing now, hearing now, thinking now, when we're reminded about the truth at this moment, is there confidence right now? Because that's the only way it can be known. Otherwise, we just learn an academic description
Right.
and learn more details. But what about at this very moment,
Mm,
when it arises, when it's now?
right. Now I appreciate of how Ajahn, you just mentioned about how confident is. And now even just consideration, the point you mentioned, yeah.
Like yesterday when Kun Metta was talking about the path and only one path, and it has to begin with understanding at this very moment, understanding which conditions the other paramis to rise together and support it. Like we can say adhitthana is confidence, or we can talk about saddha, we can talk about different realities. But what about the actual confidence right now, when there is the appreciation that only the understanding now of what appears can answer all the questions we have?
Sometimes there may be thoughts of doing something in order for the conditions for awareness and understanding to be improved. But one remembers that this is not the teaching of the Buddha, and that as we understand it, true awareness and arises by conditions and does not need a particular setting or situation. And so there's another instance of confidence at that moment in the truth of what has been heard.
So is there a box? Now,
Honestly, yes.
how much confidence?
Yes,
This
yes.
is the answer.
Nimitta, you mean it as a box, right? Yes.
So,
But it the nimitta of thing just not this.
so is there a box?
In reality, no,
Is there a box?
no,
No. What is this?
a box.
So one knows that one just heard about visible object and hardness and reality. And when there is the understanding of the truth, even it appears as a box, there is the understanding of the truth that actually it's only that which is seen.
Sorry, I missed this point. You mean even it seems at the box, the understanding that it's just seen, right?
Otherwise, how can there be a box appearing?
Right, right.
That's why it doesn't matter what is taken for box, but
Okay.
there can be the understanding of the truth of each doorway,
Right.
not
Right.
just break it up and then know that it's no box. But even right now, seeing is that which is seen.
The moments of doubt now when hearing about the box and what Ajahn says?
Not doubt. It about not understand what she intend to say. Just that. Yeah.
Because moments of confusion, moments of
Okay.
doubt, in between moments of
Oh,
confidence, different realities that can just be known when they're there.
Right. Right. So doubt there. Yeah. Agree. Yeah.
So there are many people around, but there can be the understanding of that which is seen, little by little. Otherwise, it cannot let go the idea of self from what is seen as shape and form.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a natural. That's why even an arahata sitting here, no doubt about reality, or sotapanna. But for those who just begin to understand that seeing is seeing, not that which is seen. And that which is seen cannot be taken for anything in truth at the moment of seeing. But it's there. How come? Many moments of seeing arising, falling away so rapidly, condition, shape, and form to be known as a nimitta of what is seen. But there is more than that, shorter than that, nimitta of seeing. And nimitta of that which is seen before it can come together as a box. คุณเมย์คุณ Eve is walking around. See how much to go to develop right understanding, just to let go the idea of something. If there is no understanding of that which is seen as what is the truth of it, and it's not seeing, it's impossible to let go the idea of things and worlds. That's why just understanding the truth of whatever is there, any moment, but by conditions. If there's no hearing now, and more, it's impossible to be moment of directly and is aware of a reality with understanding of the truth of it.
Yes, Ajahn just mentioned about the term condition. Then after past few days study, discussion, it's really back again very, very subtle and many conditions for a single moment to arise. So back to John said about doing something for getting something, it seemed quite clearly incorrect. Yeah. Way of the understanding the reality, how it's work.
It's clearly incorrect at that moment, and another moment it may come back again and be less incorrect, because it depends if confidence is there or not, and it's a conditioned reality. So it doesn't mean just because confidence is there sometimes that it'll be there every time.
Without studies, the moment of the reality is so very subtle, thinking that it's quite simple and something we can do. Just what I'm thinking right now.
When we think about different situations like the COVID situation or the Nakomniop situation or the being at home and watching on Zoom situation, just different realities. So what about the situation you mentioned to us about if one has a partner or is in a relationship? Is it any different from any other time, or still just seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, ignorance, attachment, odd moments of understanding?
No,
So it's just the same.
Six sense,
Yes.
six.
We
all
think
way.
it's a special situation, like we think COVID is a special situation, but actually whatever the story, whatever the situation, it just comes back to the world at this moment, one after the other.
Right.
And you
right.
asked about questions about, whether Dhamma friends give support for this or that. But actually what we support is understanding and development of all kinds of kusala, no matter with COVID, no matter in a relationship, not in a relationship, at home or traveling. The support is always for understanding at this very moment. So this is what I've always appreciated.
And when I heard the news about Vincent's positive test, I said I was quite shocked, and I immediately thought that I had such a lot of close contact with Vincent, and how could I not have caught COVID myself, and almost felt like I was coming down with it at the time, hot flush and everything like that, and regret that why didn't I wear my mask more and all this sort of thing. So all the usual kinds of akusala occurring, but somehow the appreciation that it's just a conditioned reality, just a conditioned reaction. And that because of, that's the accumulated tendency. If there's a special situation, there's going to be a reaction that's unusual. And so I think that if we reflect on the teaching we've heard, and we can see that our experience in daily life bears out what the Buddha taught about realities, and that can be a condition of a certain degree of confidence accumulates. So confidence doesn't mean necessarily that there won't be akusala reactions from time to time, or as before, as usual, but there's definitely in a different appreciation of the situation, and there's not the clinging to them as being such a terrible thing.
Alberto, would you like to bring up your question about Una and Anatta and layers?
There is also another one I mentioned, the one about the fire.
Oh, the fire, yes.
Yeah, it's Ajahn, you were talking about when Sariputta listened to Asaji, and the fire was the fire that burned. I think to remember that the fire that burned all the kilesa was already in ready to destroy all
The fire of understanding at the moments when
the
he
fire of
heard
understanding.
Asaji eradicating all wrong view at that moment. And Kalesa at that level.
Yeah, this is the fire. It was like the accumulation of understanding that Sariputta had accumulated over eons by parami. That's my understanding of what you were saying about the fire. The panya accumulated by Sariputta, ready without any previous, without any expectation. But when the time was right, the fire just by listening the words of Asaji, that sort of light the fire, which was ready to burn up the kilesa, so all Sariputta needed was just the right words, just for for the fire to.
So what is the fire?
Must be panya, only panya.
Why? Why is fire?
Because it burns kilesa.
So the panya destroy or burn what?
Akusala. it just flamed up unexpectedly. No warning when.
Is Panya now hot?
Like a candle, maybe.
What does it
Maybe.
burn?
Can burn, no, cannot burn.
The fire cannot burn?
Now there's more fire.
Yeah,
cannot
but
burn.
fire is fire.
Yeah.
Is attachment also fire?
Yeah.
Whatever burns.
If that fire hadn't been accumulated for lifetimes and lifetimes, aeons and aeons, could that strong fire at that very moment arise to eradicate certain kilesa? So it seems when we read it, it's just out of the blue, but still there has to have been that accumulation for so many lifetimes, ready to condition that strong fire at that very moment when hearing the right words.
So nothing comes out of the blue.
Nothing comes out of the blue, in the sense that it pops out just at this moment unexpectedly, but still it's by conditions, not by chance, not by luck, not by good fortune as we think of it, but because there has been that accumulation of understanding and the development of all those paramis ready for that hot fire to ignite at that moment.
And the fire is all about not taking even the fire for my fire.
No thought of my fire at that moment, because it just arises and understands the truth. It can be when reading on one's phone about one's friend who has COVID at that moment, instead of the long story about me and him and this and that. It can be the fire that just directly understands it's just visible object that's seen right then, just like now.
Is there fire now?
Not enough to warm anything, but it's the spark, little spark.
Yes.
To ask your question about nutriment now, and we can discuss
yes.
it in a bit more detail, because I think it's a good topic.
Yes.
So you can introduce it first.
Yes. Last time we discussed about the 4 conditions for the body rupa. So I would like to ask about the nutriment condition. So what it condition for? Say, can nutrition condition for the body sense, or what it is?
Can anything arise with our conditions?
No. Oh.
Carry on a little bit more. So ahara, nutriment, arises in every group of kalapas. It can either arise in what we call the pure group of 8 rupas. It's one of the ones that arises in every group. And it also arises in the group of 11, the 8, which arise together, and the 3 vikara rupas as well, the lightness, malleability, and wieldiness rupas. So it arises in those groups. And So when there is any nutritive essence, like in food, the ahara, the haraja rupa, the rupa that is nutriment is there. And, but I think it's a good question as to what it conditions, like right now, like we know if there's no eating of anything, if there's no nutritive essence eaten, we soon get sick. So it's necessary for the well-being of the body. And we know that when taking medicine, which we talked about, this is also a kind of nutriment, which is necessary for the well-being of the body. But I think Ajahn, his particular question is more specific, because we say in general that the nutriment in the group of rupas conditions the rupas of the body and so on. But we know that some rupas in the body, like eye sense, which he mentioned, or body sense, are conditioned primarily by karma. But I think they have to also be supported by other conditions as well. Can you add a little more?
The eye,
No.
nutrition, the fish eye.
Fish. Be eaten. Yeah.
So there's nutriment even in the fish eye.
Yes, yes. Mm. So what is the point?
I think that point is, that's one point which I think you already agree with, that there is nutriment in every group of rupas, nutriment in the group of rupas that make up the table, because it's nutriment for ants and insects. So nutriment in each kalapa in the wall or in the curtain. But I think that his question is, what does the nutriment condition precisely?
Right.
Because some groups of rupa, like when he reads about the body sense group of rupas or the eye sense group of rupas, they are conditioned by karma, not by ahara pachya. So he's wondering what is conditioned by it.
Is there nutriment in water?
Yes.
No doubt. Saliva. Nutriment.
Nutriment in the water, right?
And saliva.
In the saliva, like that we
Yeah, anywhere.
Mhm. So no doubt about Kabali Kalahan. Nutriment in the food or anything which can be eaten.
Yes.
I think his question there is, nutriment in every essence, every water, every bit of blood, every whatever. But his question is, can it be said that the nutriment by nutriment pachya conditions, for example, eye sense, which we know is conditioned primarily by karma?
I mean that in everyone living beings, they have to be rupa that arise by chitta, by kama, by uttu, and by ahara. If there's only, if that person is dead, they only rupa that arise from uttu.
Yes, he appreciates this point already, but that's a little different from his question. Yes, thank you.
I suppose the answer is in the book somewhere, but
I'm just curious from
Yeah.
what I heard
Right.
last time. Yeah.
When we say that the nutriment conditions the well-being of the body, and without nutriment, we know we cannot live, and we know that it's an essential condition. But when we are precise which groups of rupa are conditioned by ahara is your question, because the eye sense and body sense and heart base are conditioned only by karma, according to the book, and other groups of rupas are conditioned by chitta, like when there is the bodily intimation or the vocal, the speech, like now, and some groups are just conditioned by temperature. So we know that the groups conditioned by nutriment are just the pure octads, and the group with the vikara rupas, like in deep sleep when there's movement conditioned by nutriment, can be conditioned by nutriment. So I think it can be any groups that can be, because it conditions the pure octad, but very difficult to pinpoint.
It's a difficult point as well.
Maybe time for guna and anatta, Alberto.
There's one Pali word called vihara and viharati. It's translated as dwelling and living, but I don't think it explains the meaning properly. Can you explain the in Tipitaka the word viharati, like and also the word vihara, which is derived from the verb viharati. It's usually translated as living in like living in a monastery for the monks. We talk about it. Yeah, I think it's it refers to the it refers to the, of course it's like sila, it refers to realities, so it must be chitta and cetasika, which lives in wherever they are. Yeah, maybe another translation is residing, like meaning like living. So the reality must be the chitta and cetasika, and like for sila, the behavior of chitta and cetasika. But I think that the conventional translation doesn't really render the meaning more accurately than as when the Buddha used it. I don't know. I'm just sort of guessing the what could be the possible meaning, but any idea? Anyone?
Alberto, I just heard you talking about the word vihara or viharati, which is the verb, as you said. Literally, it's made up of the word vi in front, which means in this case not. Sometimes it can be what's called a amplifying prefix, but in this case it's not. And ha means to carry. So literally, viharati means not to carry. So it's a place which is established, a place of residence. So in the context of your question, it seems to me it's like the Buddha. I don't know. I was listening. I heard it when you started talking about the word, and I thought, oh, this might be able to. I thought about what you were saying, and so it's residing wherever you're residing, not necessarily in a particular place, but we are where you are at that particular point in time is a place of residence, if you like. So it can be taken literally, or it can be taken metaphorically, it seems to me. I don't know if that's helpful, but I was just listening to your question. But always we need to consider the context where this word will, what is the context in whatever sutta, so that we can get a better idea. But usually, of course, you hear those very famous words which are uttered at the beginning of every sutta, mostly. Just trying to remember them. The Pali phrase, which is eluding me at the moment, but it's a very common Pali phrase which talks about viharati, which is, where, thus I've heard, ewan me sutta me kansamiyam bhagawa, and so on. And the end, it ends with viharati, where they were living, whether it's in Savatthi or in Rajgir or wherever. And often refers to the monastery, but sometimes it doesn't. Just where they particularly were, where they were at a particular point in time. Could you say? No, I was just saying that I perhaps didn't appreciate the context. Can you tell me a little bit more about the context, Alberto? I'm sorry.
I think Alberto has in mind where it's used to refer to just generally to be.
Yeah, okay, that's, sorry.
Dwells with the mind that is not affected by unwholesome defilements or something like that. So it's used to connote just to be, to is, and there in that context, not necessarily reside.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right. And it's like where you are at that particular point in time, where you are, where your being is at that point in time.
Well, yes, not where you are, really, nothing to do with location, but just to connote the mental state.
Yeah, because it's only used in relation to monks, not to lay people. So living and being and residing doesn't seem like quite precise word to describe it, because we can say I live, I reside, I am, but it wouldn't be use viharati, because I'm not a monk. And
well, I think what Jonathan is alluding to there is relevant, because whether it's bhikkhu or bhikkhuni or upasaka or upasika, it's still referring to that mental state, if you like. So we just have to consider the matter carefully and consider what could be referred to. And sometimes, of course, it's very difficult to come up with an exact translation of that word as it relates to that context. And we need to consider carefully what that can be referring to. And of course, it can be misinterpreted, but I think what Jonathan's pointing to makes a lot of sense to me.
You find out that it's only used in the context of speaking to monks and not to lay people. And another word is used when speaking to lay people. How will it help you? How will it help to understand anything about the truth now?
Yeah, and just, everything can help, and all the words of the Buddha can help understand the truth. So he used that word. I was thinking also could be maybe because what really differentiate big monks from lay people is about the samatha bhavana. So it can be like referring just to monks because it's a word that explains some chitta and cetasika in like maybe in samatha bhavana. Just my guess, and that's why I was asking, because it's just my my thinking about it. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's like you say, it's not really. For sure, it's not relevant for us.
Just we can get lost in the details about the word and forget all about the pointing to the truth now. But let's see if Ajahn would like to add any comments.
Are you talking about vihara? Okay. Can it be dwelling place? Dwelling place. Okay. Wherever Buddha stay, it is the place where Buddha vihara.
Yeah.
Okay. And just only the rupa or also nama for vihara. See, so what about the Brahma vihara? No matter where you are, but the chitta dwelling on that particular reality, like metta, karuna, or mudita, or ubekha.
Right. Yeah. Brahma Vihara. Yeah.
It's that dwelling there, it doesn't go away from metta or mudita or ubekha.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example, Tanajan. You know, it's like, yeah, it's talking about the chitta. Yeah, that's an excellent example, I think, Tanajan.
Is for anyone, not just for the monks, because metta or calmness now isn't for this one or that one. It's just the wholesome reality, anytime, any place.
And I think as a verb, viharati, it sometimes, the meaning is often lives, not in the sense of resides, but carries on life, lives. So not pertaining to a particular place at all, whether a person has a residence or is wandering around with no particular residence or whatever, but it's how it's the carrying on of life in the day that's being referred to.
Sarah, do you recall the Brahma Viharas? Or the,
In the house.
yeah. Anyway.
That's why the Thai used the word vihara for temple, where monks live.
Yeah. Thank you, Sundara, as well. Yeah.
Is metta is where you live now?
Of course.
See, Usala, be friendly, well wishes. Brahma Vihara. The same word as Brahma, Brahmin, Brahma. The quality of the one who developed the degree of wholesomeness to be able to be born in Brahma world. At the moment of akusala, is it Brahma Vihara?
No more Pali words for today. No more Pali words for today.
The point is that I was referring to is that if there is the understanding of the truth and one doesn't need to think about monks or lay people or even calmness, because they are the qualities, not this or that situation. So like the living in metta or living with calm, then anywhere, anytime. So even if one finds out that the word Viharati is just used in connection with bhikkhus, but it doesn't mean that there cannot be the living alone or living with understanding wherever, anywhere, even if it's Vihara specifically just for monks.
So apply to lay people as well. Yeah,
Right way to live. Anyone would?
So I have a question about Sila 5, the 5 Sila that normal people that goes to like temple or a Buddhist temple, or when you were younger, you were taught, for Thai people, you were taught to follow the 5 Sila. And but now knowing that understanding is very important and having panya is very important, and a lot of things come from your accumulation and your condition, is it possible that for someone to have more and more understanding but not following the 5 Sila at all because of their bad accumulation per se?
What about if someone goes to the temple and decides they will refrain from killing or lying, but then they leave the temple and they get cross or hurt the insects? So we have to consider what the meaning of sila is, because it's not a conventional situation like going to the temple or making a resolution that one will do this or that in future. But what about at this very moment? For example, at a moment of doubt or a moment of confusion, is that kusala sila at that moment, no matter what one said in the temple? So it has to come back to this moment. So the sila is actually referring to the nature or the behavior or the kind of chitta at this very moment. So actually there can be kusala sila or akusala sila, or in the case of the arhats, because no kusala, no akusala, avyakata sila, the sila that is not kusala or akusala sila. So what we learn is that in a day, no matter when the temple or the vihara or at home, with COVID, without COVID, there is kusala and akusala changing all the time through the day. Even during a Dhamma discussion, can there be kusala sila for 2 hours? Impossible. At moments of vipaka, seeing, hearing, and so on, no kusala sila. At moments of attachment or being bored or having doubt, no kusala sila. So most of the day, no matter what one said in the temple, or no matter what resolution is made, most of the day it is akusala sila. The nature of chitta is akusala. When one's irritated or scolds someone, akusala sila, conditioning that speech. At moments of just having a little aversion, akusala sila, but not strong enough to condition actions. So whatever we read or study, it has to come back to this moment. Like, what about now? There is no telling a lie, but what about moments of thinking of exaggerating a story, or moments of thinking of what one might say or that isn't helpful or truthful? Kusala sila at those moments. So whatever we read with regard to the teachings comes back to this moment. And without understanding, no one can know. Someone may think that you follow 5 sila very well because you're not killing and you're not stealing and you're not telling lies. But what about the akusala sila? And even when we read about all the rules for the monks, like a monk may seem to have very good sila and seem to, by the outward appearance, follow all the rules. But what about the nature of the cheetahs? If one is following those rules with a lot of stress and a lot of resistance and a lot of disturbance, is that kusala sila? Is that what is meant by following the rules of Vinaya? Like one may not eat after midday, but if it's with a lot of dosa, how can it be kusala sila? So whatever we discuss comes back to understanding now. So sila is just for a moment, kusala or akusala. Does that answer?
And we can remember that the question of sila in terms of restraint really only arises when there's an opportunity to do something that's unwholesome. For example, a mosquito lands on one's skin and one is tempted to swat it, but refrains from doing so that moment. It could be kusala sila, or as Sarah said, there could be a lot of dosa also that one, oh, I mustn't do that because I'm trying to keep sila, sort of thing. So the formal reciting of the going for refuge in the sea, or of trying to undertake the training of observing sila, is difficult to categorize that as necessarily being wholesome, because it's something of a ritual that people go through because they think that it's going to help them to maintain good sila, and they put themselves perhaps stay in the temple for the day so that it's a conducive situation for what they think of as being good sila. But the test is real life. And when one is talking to other people, if one is if one is using harsh speech or exaggerating stories, etc., then there is no observance of sila. So it's more helpful, I think, to think of sila as the moment of restraint from the unwholesome conduct when the opportunity is there to do it. And one remembers that it's unwholesome to do that. That's the moment of observing sila, not taking some vow or recitation.
In addition to the points, what are the qualities of that moment? What are the qualities of that moment? And why you mean the strength of not killing or something like that? Yeah.
Impossible to say. Only the person themselves can know whether it's wholesome or unwholesome. As we said, it depends on the situation. So one can't generalize. But as we know from our own experience, there can be restraint from, say, harsh speech out of consideration for the other person, or there could be refraining from taking something just because you know you might get caught. There's no wholesomeness in that, because there's no consideration for the person whose property you are about to steal.
Because I have a question quite similar to this point. It's about last time, like kusala or akusala versus the Dhamma. It is related. Say, if at the moment of keeping the sila of killing, it's the Dhamma, something like that. I'm not sure if it's correct. So that's the reason why I raised what are the qualities of that moment. Yeah.
Sorry, Gun, before we get to the new subject, can I just say something about what Jim was asking about? Her question was about when understanding increase, can there still be very bad sila because accumulated tendency? I think that in general, when understand the harmfulness of akusala. So naturally understanding the panya want to avoid to break the sila naturally. But if you are talking about if that's applied to all the cases, probably not, because in the text there are examples of people have at very high level of understanding, but can still have very bad killing habit, or not habit, but killing behavior. So I think that's what your question about, right? At the beginning, you were asking about when understanding increase.
Yes, yes. Thank you. That was very clear. Thank you.
What about now, Dream? Is there kusala sila now?
Yes, because I understand more and more about the Dhamma and the
And how
reality.
long does it last, the kusala sila?
Super fast.
Right. And how about now?
It's gone.
Right, it's gone already, yes. And so it's only when the understanding accumulates that there can be more understanding of what kusala sila really is. And this conditions more and more goodness of all kinds with it, but not by any expectation. And as Vincent said, understanding can develop a lot, but still, who knows what strong akusala sila there may be at any time.
Look,
It has to come back to this moment.
yes, if we understand panya increase and decrease, but if the kilesa are not eradicated, anyone can do anything which is bad and all that. Like Buddha said that if kilesa were in form of rupa, like an object, even the entire universe unlimited cannot even fit in. It just means that everyone have a lot of kilesa. If kilesa is not yet eradicated, anyone can do anything bad because there's still kilesa.
And I think that that point to be borne in mind, which Sarah alluded to, that sila relates ultimately to behavior or the conduct of the heart, the conduct of the chitta at a particular moment in time. And as we know, that can change very quickly. And I appreciated Jonathan's example and reminder again too, that just because you restrain, which can be a moment of kusala sila, but if you restrain just because you realize that it's not a good time now and you might get caught, and you think about doing it another time, that is obviously not kusala sila. I think they're useful points to be borne in mind. And perhaps just briefly to add on to what Gurn's question was about the conditions, for kammapata. Kammapata, which means literally action pathway, or it's usually generally understood as completed course of action. There are certain factors that need to be fulfilled, like in the case of killing, for example, there has to be a living creature. You have to know it's a living creature. That's number 2. Number 3, and this is the most important one, you have to have intention to harm that living creature. And number 4, you make an effort to do so, to harm that living creature or to kill that living creature, sadly, and then the creature dies. So that's those 5 factors. They are essential prerequisites for it to be what's called a completed course of action.
Does it help to make a determination to avoid killing, stealing, and so on?
No, without understanding, then no.
Because it's just thinking about it different from the moments when there is the opportunity and there is the understanding of the danger of killing and stealing and so on. I'm just wondering if, Eve, I know you are listening because I can see you're there. I'm wondering if there's anything you would like to bring up, because we're all very sorry to hear about your positive diagnosis and the fact that you can't join us. Is there anything you would like to bring up this morning or to ask Ajahn or anyone about?
Well, actually, I have good news for everyone. I just went and checked line and I saw that Vincent's COVID test is negative, and yesterday he tested positive. So that's a moment of joy, and I feel such joy sitting here listening to you. I apologize to everyone. I want to do the responsible thing. And even though the second line was a little blurry, I just want to ensure that I have distance from everybody and nobody gets sick. But thanks to Ajahn, I'm taking medicine, and I hope also to have a negative COVID test later on in the day. I simply wanted to just express to everyone my love for you, and I don't want anyone to get sick. So I'm keeping a very far distance from you, and I'm just happy to listen. Thank you kindly.
Eve, hope you get well soon as well.
Actually, Haji, I have no symptoms whatsoever. I went for a 10-kilometer run last night, woke up today feeling fabulous, but it's better to be ultra safe with this sort of a situation. The percentages of getting a false positive are very small, but nevertheless, even though I have no symptoms, thank you, Haji, for your kindness.
If good to know you have no symptom, but to clarify, I'm still positive. Just the second line is lighter. So I'm still positive this morning.
Okay. All right, Vincent.
I think
Good
that
to
even
know.
when it turns negative, one needs to have at least 3 days minimum before so.
Vincent, you too get well soon.
It's
Thank
great
you,
to know that
Haji.
you're listening, Eve, yes, and Vincent and everyone. Join those on the screen. Ajahn, anything you would like to add or say to Eve? Is to dream, yes, back to Sila or
What kind
anyone.
of Sila?
Yes, is the Sila now.
Is having good sila is like having good deed or metta.
One Sila?
One sila.
When having good deed, is it one's own Sila? Does it
Oh no,
belong to
no,
one?
not one. No.
And what about now? Is there any good deed now?
Yes, I think so.
What is the best good deed?
The best good deed, as in feeling, or best good deed. Like I feel metta towards Eve because back a month ago I had COVID and I sympathize with the situation and all. Is that like good metta?
Okay, metta. So moments of metta. Metta is kusala citta.
Mm-hmm.
Is it my metta
No,
that I have?
no.
No. So any moments of thinking of my metta, then no
No
more
bad deeds,
kusala
okay.
citta, then it's akusala sila then. So the metta is kusala sila,
Mhm.
and the taking it for my metta, akusala sila, that follows. Kindness or generosity, kusala sila, my generosity. or attachment to the goodness, akusala sila, that follows. What about moments of understanding now? Because Ajahn said, what is sila now? If there's understanding now, is that kusala sila?
Yes.
Is that a good deed?
Yep.
Because good deed is a strange term in English, because we think of some action like making an offering to the temple. But actually, the reason I asked what is the best kusala sila, or the best good deed, if we want to use that term, is understanding at this very moment. Understanding what appears right now. Higher kusala sila, when it's with understanding. So no need to think of the action or the visit to the temple or the words spoken. It comes back to the citta now.
And how do you know that now you have kusala sila? Or it's kusala sila right now?
When I understand what you're trying to explain, the reality, and I get it, there's an I still, but like it clicked, then there's a good kusala. But if I have dosa or I have moha, then it's a bad.
Really? That's why we listen to the teachings of the Buddha about the very subtle akusala. For example, ignorance and attachment. 3 moments after seeing is there. That's why I'm sitting here, I'm talking all the time, because there is seeing all the time. All the time means when it arises, when it's there. So it's so very subtle. And it has to begin at moment of understanding the truth of it, that even seeing right now is not anyone or anything at all. It is just the moment of seeing arising just to see. Little by little, letting go the idea of self. So no one can say that I know I have kusala sila now. Just thinking about it. Because the akusala does not show up at all, that is there too, after seeing.
Usually it's speculating about the situation again, like thinking now I'm listening carefully to the Dhamma, so kusala sila, or now I'm having fun, akusala sila, but unless the understanding has been developed enough, it's just thinking or speculating about it.
But
So-
can kusala happens without understanding too? Maybe like I'm not without understanding of attachment of an I, but as I said, I have metta, that could be kusala, but not the best kusala.
Is it known right now? Because, oh, the friendly thoughts to Eve, but so close thoughts of attachment, my friend, so different moments, and not I that has anything at all, just moments of metta, moments of attachment, but without understanding. Nothing can be known at all, because that near enemy of the attachment with pleasant feeling follows so closely. So unless it's the firm understanding and the understanding that understands well, it's just thinking about it. Oh, I have metta for this one at this time, just generalizing. So the understanding has to be firmer and firmer to really understand well that it's just a Dhamma, not my metta at all. And when there's good wishes for oneself, Jagrit, any metta?
But how about for the very close, like son or the parents? It's
So we think for the children, oh, so much kindness, so much metta, because like Jagrit will do anything to help his children, and most parents, it's like this. But what about all the attachment, all the clinging, all the expectation? Like So such a good gift to bring his children to Dhamma discussion and help the Dhamma. But for my children, is it the same for other children or anyone? Like friendliness to Eve because she's our friend in our group. But what about the cleaner who's sick or anyone? So when it's just for this person, it's not true metta. So without understanding, how can it be known at all?
And what are the qualities of the metta? It wholesome, and last time we mentioned about it can support the understanding in somehow, right? Last time we mentioned.
What about now when we're talking to others, moments of kindness, moments of friendliness, different from concern, like one hears about Eve's situation and the moments of concern or worry, no metta at those moments. So moments of kindness, or never with unpleasant feeling. And I think what we talked about was that when there is understanding, metta develops and it supports the understanding. If one's angry and doesn't like the person one's speaking to, it doesn't support understanding because there cannot be understanding at those moments.
In before we mentioned about the calm in a moment ago, right? Can you elaborate a little bit more about that, right?
When there's metta, is there calm at that moment?
I think so.
What about at moments of understanding? Is there calm at moments of understanding?
Yes.
What about at moments of generosity? Is there calm at those moments?
Yes.
So any moment of kusala is calm. It has calm, and the calm that develops with understanding is higher calm, different from other kinds of calm because it's with understanding. So without any understanding of when it's metta and when it's not metta, it can't be known whether it's calm. At moments of concern, when one feels sorry to hear the news about metta, about Eve's condition, that she cannot join us, is there any calm at those moments of concern with worry?
I think concern or care is different, right? Based on if the care of the others cannot join, maybe calm there. But concern, the worries, and the difference.
So
right.
Different moments. So moments of kusala sila with calm, akusala sila, no calm. Different moments.
And
unknown mostly.
what is its function? I mean, the characteristic of it, the calmness, right? Or
Are you talking about calmness or metta now?
no, the calm.
Right.
I mean, you said it there, but I'm not sure about what actually characteristic of it is. Is calm, right?
Right.
It just
So at that
its meaning.
moment, at the moment of kindness, like if there's kindness now, the citta is calm, the cetasikas are calm. So it's calm, so it conditions the namas that arise with it by its nature. No restlessness, no disturbance, no agitation at those moments at all.
Is loving someone is calm or not? What's your name? Next to Jonathan. It's love, calm, loving someone, loving your parent, loving your children. Are they calm?
I think attachment, not calm. Yeah.
So if we didn't hear Dhamma before and we don't understand, like we may think that love is good, is caring about your children and all that, can do anything, can sacrifice, but actually they're not thinking about other. It's all selfish. The more you love, the more selfish. And if your loved one like pass away and all that, you will be very sad and right, the very yeah, and like really sad and all that. So kindness, when kindness is actually truly thinking about others and all that, and would not lead to dosa.
Yes, Haji, you still enjoy loving your father, right?
Yes, yes, but according to Dhamma, it's akusala.
Your dad would like to put you and your needs first before other people. Metta or attachment. It's always there. So common. I was just asking whether anyone else on Zoom, like Anne or Rosita or anyone else, or Mr. Tsao, if anyone else has any question they would like to bring up.
Just a quick comment, if I may, Sarah. Just thinking of what the comment you just said, Haji. I think when it comes to your dad, you can also have kusala citta when you think of all the good qualities that he has. Yes, certainly there will be much attachment, and that's very understandable. But I think also, I believe also, you can have many conditions for metta toward your dad when you think of his good qualities. I know that will be mixed up with a lot of akusala, but I certainly think kusala is possible when you think of your dad, or anybody's dad for that matter, if we understand, have a better understanding of what kusala and what metta is really truly about.
It's a good point, not just for this dad, but any dad, not just this friend, but any friend, anyone that there is an opportunity to be friendly or kind to when it's specific one. It's clinging for sure. We just have a little bit of time left. Anything you'd like to ask, to add, Ajahn, or anyone have any other question they'd like to bring up? Hung.
Back to Brahma Vihara that you just mentioned. Is it only mentioned to the person who develops the Samatha Bhavana, or including the Samatha Vipassana Bhavana?
Can we know it? Because we use the word Vipassana in other words. What are the difference?
The difference is no understanding about the reality now.
At moment of understanding the nature of reality, clearly that is Vipassana.
Yeah.
That's why even we just talk about calmness or anything, just think about it. But when it's there, can it be known as not I or anyone? That's why in the day there are many realities appearing from time to time. We can know at moment of getting angry, it's anger, right? But still, I am angry. That's why the most important thing is that even that is the reality which arises to experience an object, it's not known, like Chittana, see? And if there's no understanding of the characteristics of Chitta, as it is the reality which arises to experience, whatever is there, which can experience, is taken to be I all the time. That's why there should be the understanding of the difference between intellectual understanding and the moment when there is awareness of a reality right now, with understanding, little by little. Right understand knows the way to have more understanding. For example, when we talk about Brahma Vihara and Metta, what about Kusala? See, is it known whether there is Metta or not? That's why just learn about the truth in order to directly understand it when it appears. Just like now, see, not yet that level, because everything is now appearing, but no awareness directly to understand the truth of it. But from hearing again and again and again, it conditioned moment of being aware unexpectedly, not by the choice or anything at all, in order to understand what we have learned in truth, no one and no thing. Only when there are conditions to be aware, then awareness arises. Understand the paccaya of everything now as it is. Because just think about the way it is not self, but it's still self. As long as there's more understanding of paccaya, for example, how can they be seen right now? Impossible. But it's there, not to be known, that it's conditioned. It seems like it's unnatural to see from moment to moment. But in truth, no one can stop seeing to arise. And no one can make it arise either, to understand this moment, little by little.
There is understanding of metta now when it appears. Is that samatha or vipassana?
Understand of the characteristic of the metta is the vipassana, but we don't need to.
And at that moment of understanding metta as a reality, is there samatha at that moment?
No, it's a vipassana. It's a vipassana.
But is there any samatha at that moment?
Yes. Of course, because it's calmness.
Passaddhi Cetasika, calmness, arises with all kusala. So at the moment of understanding metta, it is calmness, it is Passaddhi Cetasika, and it's higher calmness,
without understanding,
adhicitta, with that understanding. So one doesn't have to think about developing other kinds of calmness, because when understanding develops, calmness, purer, higher calmness develops with that understanding that understands it's just a Dhamma, not my metta, not belonging to anyone, just a Dhamma, not to be the object of clinging, because it's gone instantly. So samatha always develops together with right understanding of realities. And then no thought about developing or trying to have other samatha or other kind of development, because there is the confidence that as understanding develops, calmness develops together.
Sarah, but there are some people who enlightenment to Sotapanna and Sakrami, Anakami, or Hatha with only Vipassana Bhavana, but never Samatha Bhavana. In that case,
Those people who became enlightened by directly understanding realities, is it possible for that understanding to develop without calmness?
no.
No. So at any moment of understanding, calmness is there. Can there be adhicitta, adhisila, adhicitta, adhipanya, higher calmness without understanding of realities?
No.
No. So it develops together, and this is what is meant by yoked, which we read many times. So when understanding develops, it is yoked together with calmness. So impossible to become enlightened without the development of calmness with right understanding of realities.
That is
different from the calmness that arises without right understanding of realities.
Right understanding about reality is vipassana. But samatha is not right understanding because it doesn't understand.
Samatha is calmness, impossible to develop understanding without calmness. It has to develop together. We're not talking about the mundane development of samatha that leads to the attainment of jhana. We're talking about how calmness, passaddhi, has to be there at moments of understanding and how it is higher calmness. So they have to be yoked together. Understanding has to develop with calmness. Otherwise, cannot develop. And when there is the understanding of realities and the understanding of how calmness develops with it, will there be any thought or interest in trying to attain jhanas or develop other kinds of samatha bhavana?
Not necessary.
Not at all, because of the confidence that the path is just the understanding of realities, no matter whether the object is attachment or ignorance or jhana or anger or seeing or hearing, just any conditioned reality.
Thank you.
To finish now, and we'll start again at